Well, hey, baddies. This week looks a little different. I hopped in the studio a little off the cuff on the fly, or is it off the fly on the cuff? However you want to say it. With my dear friend Sam. She is the viral sensation Carpools and Country Clubs on social media. She is a badass in the boardroom. She's a mom. She's a fashion phenom and so much more. And she is a hell of a lot of fun to talk to. She's also been the recipient of a lot of mean girl treatment. So we had a few minutes carved out and were able to jump in front of the mics and record this episode. Unfortunately, Brandy was not here. B, you know we missed you. But we wanted to get this one in front of y'all. It felt like a really important follow-up just on being a woman, being the recipient of some negative attention, and also navigating social media and some other social dynamics in 2024. I hope you enjoy this episode. It was so much fun. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming on. It was a blast. Without further ado, she did Sam.
You see a lot of people who are trying to present this artificial view of who they are. Like
Right.
They want to be perceived as the mom who does it all. She cooks,
Sure.
she cleans, she has a 7-course meal for her kids.
Sure.
She just got done doing carpool. Or the creative person or the DIYer that does everything in a weekend. Like, I don't want to be perfect. I make videos that come to me and I don't have my hair done. I don't have a full face of makeup on. I'm in a car. I'm sweaty. I'm gross. And I think that authenticity is really what has kept my account going is people see I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not.
Life as a mom, entrepreneur, wife, friend, and human is a lot. Join me, Katie Jacobs.
And me, Brandy Chandler, every Thursday as we have unfiltered, hilarious, and relatable conversations about the ups, the downs, and the chaos of it all.
Pour a glass and pull up a seat.
Because you're always welcome at our table.
Hey, Sam.
Hi.
Welcome to She Did What?
I'm so excited to be here.
I am so stoked you're here. This worked out so well.
It did.
You are such a dear friend of mine. We are deep dive friends.
Yes.
We are 3-hour dinner friends,
Yes.
followed by a text of like, I love you so much. I'm so
Yes.
glad we're in each other's lives. It is the big conversations only all the
Only.
time.
Yeah.
You are a friend I call when things are going incredibly right or incredibly wrong. And I'm so grateful for you. And I love you. You are a marketing badass genius.
Ooh,
Yes.
thank you.
You are a mom to 3 kiddos.
Yes.
You are an accomplished equestrian.
Yes.
You are, on top of all of that, you started an incredibly successful satire account.
Yeah, you're making me blush. Like I'm not
Called-
this great of a human, but thank you. Yes.
Called Carpools and Country Clubs. Was it a year ago?
It's a little like a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago. You started a satire account called Carpools and Country Clubs
Mhm.
that has become a viral sensation.
It's insane. Yes.
It's wild. And it has been a little polarizing for some folks out there.
Little
Oh.
sensitivity.
A little sensitivity. So I brought you on today. One of the things that really struck a chord for a lot of our listeners was our episode called Mean Girls.
Yeah.
You and I have had a lot of conversations over the years.
Yep.
And I feel like with your account and you being in satire and comedy and the way you do things, I mean, you send me things all the time, and the way you're sort of targeted, that this would be a really interesting piggyback off of that specific conversation
Right.
about what it is to be a woman and have people be kind of mean to you or awful to you.
Right.
So you have kind of taken this satire account as a place to pull back the curtain on a exclusive sort of, country clubs are about exclusivity.
Right. Things that aren't talked about.
Right.
Yeah. The
Do you-
man behind the curtain.
I don't think anyone before I saw your account had I heard anyone sort of get that real about it. And for that, I think that's been kind of the genesis of the pushback. Why did you start the account, like what was sort of your calling to that? Did you think it was just going to be kind of like a jokey thing, couple friends?
So I had a couple of instances at the club where I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, we find ourselves being members of a country club. We, in any other circumstance, might not have been friends, right? We are joining something because our families want it, because we want it together. We want the extracurricular activities for our kids, whatever the interest was that you had, or just the bouginess of it all. And I found myself being like, wait, why are these women and some men so invested in this? Like, this is kind of a little ridiculous. COVID hit. I got a little bit more involved in the club than I had prior to COVID. And I kind of saw a little bit more of the behavioral that people had talked about, but I hadn't experienced personally. And I was drunk, as most good stories start.
I was love
drunk.
Tell me more.
On a girls' trip at the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we were eating 7-layer dip. Shout out Michelle for your 7-layer dip.
God, I love 7-layer.
It was good. It was good. And I started joking about the stories of how kind of things had happened to me. And I was like, but why do you hate me? And then I was like, but really, why do they hate me? And then somebody else told a story, and then somebody else told a story. And then it just became this, I think I'm going to do this. And it was really hard because I wanted to come up with a name that wasn't just about clubs, because it's not just country clubs.
No, it's not.
It's carpooling, it's private schools, it's public schools, it's
general observations about goofy shit that we all see and love and laugh about.
Yes, it's, there's a little bit of equestrian in there because that community, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
It makes the country club community look like they are a trailer park. So that's where it started. And I posted one video. And I thought I would be 10 friends, 12 friends, like you and a couple of other really close people. I would make them laugh. And then I had a couple of videos last fall just blow up. And then it just built and built and built. And it's been amazing to see.
You are doing this like as a for fun thing. It seems like you really enjoy it. I also think it's very interesting. And when Georgia Followers, which is a huge account here in Georgia, reposted one of your videos, and then I saw you going in, and anyone who was trolling you, you trolled them back.
Correct.
It was the most epic takedown. And then watching you then turn people who didn't like you into fans.
Yeah.
Because then they're like, wait, I actually really like you. You're really funny.
Well, because I can make fun of myself.
Right.
So
and do you think that's your superpower in this whole thing is like, I can make fun of all of this, but also I'm part of that too.
100%.
Right.
I think I don't take it serious. I think a lot of times, especially in 2024 social media, you see, and I'm a consumer of social media myself, right? Not just a creator. You see a lot of people who are trying to present this artificial view of who they are. Like they want to be perceived as the mom who does it all. She cooks, she cleans, she has a 7-course meal for her kids. She just got done doing carpool. Or the creative person or the DIYer that does everything in a weekend. Like, I don't want to be perfect. I make videos that come to me and I don't have my hair done. I don't have a full face of makeup on. I'm in a car. I'm sweaty. I'm gross. And I think that authenticity is really what has kept my account going is people see I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not. And I think one of the best compliments I've ever received during this is meeting people in person and them interacting with me in person as recently as in a bathroom this weekend at a horse show and people going, wait, you really are like this. And I'm like, yeah, I just put a camera in front of me.
Yeah.
And I say a little less curse words on social media than I do in real life.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sailor in real life.
Well, that's, a point of connection for us.
Yes.
Listen up, baddies. Our Patreon is growing like crazy. If you're loving the podcast, it's a phenomenal way to hear more exclusive content, including our monthly catch-ups, which are absolutely hilarious, uncut episodes, shorts, and coming very soon, interviews and more content piggybacking off of our most loved episodes. We can assure you we are unfiltered and maybe even a little feral. So go to the link tree on our Instagram page at Podcast She Did What to get straight to our Patreon and join today. Remember, if you join as an executive baddie, you'll get an episode shout out as well. We can't wait for you baddies to see this extra content. It's funny to see people be like, oh, you're not, what? And I'm just like, y'all don't know Sam. First of all, no, you come in the store, we met through Cheeky, I think, and you come in the store and you're like, I'm not even going to say what you said off air, but I'm like, Sam, you're naughty, you're hilarious, you're this little like fiery ball of fun. And I get that on your social. I don't think people realize like that is at the core who you are.
100%.
So I want to talk about sort of, you have two sides to this mean girl thing, and I've seen it affect you kind of differently. Mm-hmm. I want to get your take though, not my take on your take. So what has been worse from creating this account because of the pushback of you sort of pulling back this curtain, so to speak? Has the mean girl in real life thing been harder, or like the people online just being haters? What has been, and how have they been different?
So people online don't bother me. I don't know you. You don't know me. You're seeing 5 to 30 seconds of who I am, and you're making a judgment call. We've all been in a position where we judge a book by its cover from its initial moment in time that we interact with it, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't care for the haters online. They don't bother me. I actually don't even care for the haters in real life who I know have always maybe had a little bit of a problem with me, a little bit of I'm not their cup of tea, because I'm not for everybody. And I know that. I'm a lot to handle, and I understand that. The haters that bother me the most are what I call the secret haters. Those are the people that to my face have been champions of mine, behind my back are not so champions of mine. Or they are the people who had no problem when my content could perhaps be interpreted to be representative of something they're going through or help share the narrative that they want to get across. Mm-hmm. But then the moment that a video somehow doesn't fit into their narrative of what they want, they all of a sudden, I'm not good enough, or I'm using personal experiences to benefit my social media account. And I think that's the hating that's the hardest, is if I've sat at a table with you and we've had intimate conversations and you've been a champion of mine in a private setting, and then the moment that I walk out of a room of opportunity, you're not using that to speak positively of me, those are the ones that cut deep. And those are the ones that I've struggled with.
So I know it's hurt your feelings before.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think one of the misconceptions about you, you're tough, you're brassy and ballsy, and you just say it like it is. And I think I've seen people sort of treat you in a way that's like, she can handle anything. And when behind closed doors, I know from our conversations that it's been deeply hurtful for you. What is it like then to go to the country club and look at someone, because I know people who've made fake accounts to follow you and troll you, or not troll you, but like watch you, but they don't want you, and like the funny thing is you're so fucking smart. You're literally one of the smartest women I know. You're like, you're dumb. I know all of this.
But you also know, even if you don't have a social media account, you know when a friend is not being a friend. You have that feeling. You just, all of a sudden your interactions are different with them. Like, social media just adds a different layer to it. But any woman sitting in this sofa or in this room or outside of this room knows that feeling. You just know, you walk into a room and you're going, I think I was just talked about, and I don't think I was talked about in a good way.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody knows that feeling.
Oh,
it's
a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Like, what is that like for you?
I don't know if I have the right answer yet. I'm still navigating it. Yeah. I think that the approach that I'm taking currently is, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but that doesn't mean that their opinion needs to have a weight on your heart and in your soul. Mm-hmm. I am trying to surround myself with people who see what I'm trying to do and understand it at its core and at its pureness. And if they are a part of that journey with me, I'm welcoming them on board that journey. I'm very cautious to always try to ask people, hey, can I post this? Or are you okay? Like, my tennis team played yesterday and I wasn't at the match, and they sent a group photo, and I was like, are you guys okay if I post this to my Instagram? Just because I'm putting myself out there doesn't mean everybody else wants themselves put out there.
That's right.
And I'm trying to be mindful of those boundaries and be mindful that sometimes people might not speak up, but they still want to be asked, and not just making assumptions. Right now, there are people who are probably being my friend because it benefits them and they want to be, oh, wait, are you getting brand deals, or are people talking to you, or, oh, this celebrity's following you, or that person shared your video, or that person liked your video. And for every one of those, in 6 months, there's probably going to be people who, if my account continues to grow, which I hope it does, might all of a sudden follow me for different reasons, right? Oh, I have something that I'd love to get your help with, right? I think you just have to know intent and what your intent is, and make sure that you're mindful that people you surround yourself with have that same intent. And just as a statement of fact, people show you who they really are. You just have to listen.
And believe them.
And actions are always going to speak louder than words.
Yep. We have a saying in my family, deeds, not words.
Yeah.
You can say sorry till the cows come home, but unless the behavior changes, So going back, you said some really great words. You talked about boundaries.
Yeah.
You talked about intent. And what I heard from you, because I'm thinking about your daughter, I'm thinking about Brandy's daughters, I'm thinking about all of my friends who have young women who are going to experience, the women here who work at Cheeky. I am thinking, my retail store, I'm thinking about all of these women and how they are navigating these situations currently. And I appreciate what you just said. First of all, being honest and saying, I don't know yet. I'm still exploring that.
Yeah.
But also to say, like, this is what you said, I think is great advice for all women who are trying to navigate friend groups, friendships. And I think what spoke to me a lot is you saying like believe your gut instinct. If you walk in the room and you think people, were talking about you, like, listen to that.
They probably were. I also think the older that I get, I realize friendships can have seasons. You can have a spring, you can have a fall, you can have a winter, you can have a summer. There are moments and times where I have friends and we will talk nonstop. We will do a bunch of activities together because our seasons just aligned perfectly in that moment. And then we could go into, more of a slower season. That doesn't mean that we still don't love or respect each other. It's just we're not lining up the same way. And I think that when I was younger, if I had started this account 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had that reflection to say, some people's interactions with me are not related to my Instagram, and others people's interactions with me are related to it. And understanding the difference between those two things.
Mm-hmm.
And not having it be the story that you tell yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's really good advice. Another guest we were talking about, you and she have the same quality of being so authentically yourselves. And she was saying that, and it touches on what you said, a lot of people have two versions. Their real authentic self, it's the one behind closed doors, and the one that they project for everyone to see. And if we could all just be very authentic and just kind of live into our truth a little more and not be so scared. I think everyone is so afraid to, and I know you get it. I get why. Why people are scared. When you put yourself out there, you're opening yourself up.
Yeah.
And Brandy and I have done it with the podcast. I tell her sometimes on launch morning, I feel like I'm naked on stage. And I'm sure sometimes with your content, like when you're pushing a boundary or when you're saying things that are going to get a big reaction.
Absolutely.
And that feels a little revealing, but it's your truth and it's something that's authentically you. And I would imagine the points of judgment are the reason most people pull away, or the mean girl of it all is the reason most people pull back from that. And I'm not just talking, we have very public, like a podcast, a huge Instagram account and TikTok follow. I'm just talking about in general, I think people are much more shy, like to just be who they are.
Well, I think it's easy to hide in the shadows. And I think in 2024, it's even easier. You can be a keyboard warrior. Like there are people at the club and in my personal life who have asked me directly if I would create a video or create a piece of content that is about a specific story, because it benefited them in that moment in time.
Wow.
But they weren't willing, or they weren't able to, or they didn't want to make a video themselves. And that's not what I'm there for.
What's your response when people say that? If I approached you and I was like, make a video so that I can.
I would say no. I mean, I think each situation was a little tweak, but over the summer, somebody reached out to me. They were having a challenge. Somebody was being very aggressive about a moment in time. And they were like, hey, who do I talk to help get support from this from a management perspective, which I think was great. And I told them who to get help from a management perspective. And they said, you should make a video about this. And my response was, I immediately said 3 to 5 things that also have been happening in personal and club life that I had not made a video of. And I was like, if I hadn't made a video of those, why would I make a video of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think the other thing people forget is I am one creative person, but I am not that creative. I have a wonderful group of people who follow me who share crazy stories that give me creative.
They are
justice.
wild. You were giving some to me. I was like, whoa.
They are wild. And I appreciate it, but I take some creative leave with that and, twist it.
It's satire.
It's satire. But I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here to create videos when it's convenient for you and then be the subject of your conversation at dinner at a table that I wasn't invited to.
Fair. Ooh, girl, don't get me tables you weren't invited to. Don't get me started. Have you ever had anything happen or ever been hurt enough in a moment where you've thought about stopping doing what you're doing or taking your account down or or quitting the club? I mean, has there ever been anything that's been bad enough where you felt like, this just is like, I'd rather shut down. Well, I think the sad thing is because I think I've had this thought is I'd rather shut down than be me anymore if it's going to be this brutal at times.
I've never thought about quitting the club or clubs. That sounds bougie, but that's the truth. I've never thought about shutting down the account. I had a really bad moment where something really got to me. I recognized that I was being talked about negatively in rooms I wasn't present in. And my conscious and subconscious recognized that. And it was confirmed to me. And I posted a video of me crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that because if I feel like that,
mm-hmm.
and I'm going through that range
mm-hmm.
of emotions,
mm-hmm.
how many other women are feeling that want to have somebody that they feel seen?
Yeah.
Like in that moment when I was super sad, I was at dinner with my husband and my daughter. We were at Cafeteria, aka Capital Grill. We eat there like twice a week. Shout out Capital Grill, sponsor me. We were at Cafeteria and it all hit me, and I didn't want my daughter to see me cry. I don't mind my daughter seeing me upset, but I didn't want her to see me in that raw upset. And I looked at my husband. I was like, I have to leave dinner. And I left dinner and I drove home blasting Whitney Houston.
Oh my God,
and
so good.
I cried. And I posted a video of me crying. And it's really raw and it's really pure. And it's probably one of my favorite videos I've ever posted because that's how I felt in the moment. And I remember feeling that. And that video reminds me of that was a moment and it passed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're bigger than that moment.
Correct. And I grew.
Yeah. Yeah. Although it can be really difficult to get through that
Absolutely.
time.
And, I just like Kim Kardashian's an ugly crier. I'm not the cutest. It's not good but also that's who I am.
And you posted that on Carpools, not your personal.
Yeah. I posted it on Carpools.
That's awesome.
Not my personal.
You're a member of 3 clubs.
I am. Yeah. It's bougie. I know. Sorry.
What is the vibe like when you walk in these days, since your account has seen a lot of growth?
Yes.
When you walk in the room, do you feel like people are like, oh God, don't post about me?
2 out of the 3, no one cares.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just another person.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are out of state, or one of them is almost out of state. They don't really care. the one that I'm a member of locally in Atlanta, it's a mixed bag. I have people who I don't know at the club that will come up to me. My hair is my calling card, so most of the time they recognize me from that.
For those of you listening and not watching, Sam is a gorgeous redhead.
Thank you. I have 24 inches of weave along with my own
beautiful
hair. It's
I was touching all your rows earlier.
Yes. So people will come up to me and say, oh my gosh, I loved that video. That was so funny. Or people will point, or people will walk out of the room when I walk in the room. But I'm not doing anything that they're not doing. I just happen to have the account be public.
Right.
No one else everybody else can post photos, can post videos, can make whatever content that they want to. And I'm very mindful of making videos where it's just me, unless somebody has given me permission. I'm very mindful about the settings in which I record videos. I'm very mindful of having time pass by, so stories and moments in time don't seem to be reflective of what has just transpired or did transpire. And thankfully, I really don't post a lot about my club. And I think that's something that people don't realize is a lot of the stuff I post is stories that I get that are just, they happen at every club, whether it's a neighborhood club or, Augusta National has issues, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
They all have drama.
Yeah.
You get a bunch of wealthy people together and egos together, you're going to have drama.
Yeah.
Hello, we have a new executive baddie. Welcome behind the paywall, Jill. We are so happy to have you at our table.
Are you taking in other content differently being a content creator? Like, are you really looking for more authenticity?
Yes.
Is it harder for you to stomach those that you can tell are phony?
Yeah. So
Baloney.
I've seen the man behind the curtain now.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why all of the traditional Instagram content creators are using the same brands and the same things are being pushed to you, from Abercrombie to Nordstrom, anniversary sale.
Oh my God.
To,
don't say it. I never want to hear it again.
They are all being offered tons of money.
Right.
To share these links and these codes. And I look at it differently, how in movies they have advertisements that are made to look not like advertisements, a huge billboard.
Product placements. Yeah.
Yes. And I now look at content and go, okay, I see what you're doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I also think that there's too much of that. And so people are naturally gravitating back to more raw.
Right.
I'm not filtering it. I'm not trying to edit it down. If I come up with an idea, I make that idea and then I post it. I don't think twice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that about your content. It's certainly why I follow you.
Thank you.
What is the biggest misconception about you?
Probably that I'm trying to do this for some greater purpose or reason. I'm not trying to do this for money.
That's people that don't know you.
I know. I'm not trying to do this for money. I'm not trying. I truly did this because I love making my friends laugh.
Yeah.
And I love making fun of myself.
And you are a ham.
I am. I love.
You're such a ham. Like when we go out to dinner, you always make me blush, and it's hard to make me blush.
Yeah.
You will pull some shit that I'm like, oh my God, Sam, all the time. You're
All
a
the
ham.
time.
And I don't, that's, people don't get that that's really who you are.
So I think the people who just find me on social that don't know me in real life, it's probably that I'm not trying to get anything out of this. I'm not trying to make this my career, my, my livelihood, nothing like that. The people who know me, not everything's about you. The content's not about you. The videos aren't about you. The stories aren't about you. If you took a moment of pause and think, is this about me? The answer is no.
Right. Yeah.
So those are my two biggest, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. The last thing I want to touch on is I bet the staff at the club love you.
Yes.
Do they love you so much? I know for a fact there have been situations because I've asked you in the past, but speak to that.
They do. I think partly because my husband and I tip them. And so I pay them for the likes. No, I think that I'm making fun of it all. And they are some of the greatest people in the world, and they are in their teens to 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s. Incredible human beings who have stories and who have truths and who have lives. And I don't know if they necessarily like me because of my social account as much as they like me because I treat them like a person.
Of course.
And I say hi. And I ask how their life is, right?
Absolutely.
But they get a little chuckle.
I'm sure they
get a
do.
little chuckle.
I've worked as a bartender.
Correct.
I've worked in retail for 14 years. And there's definitely a culture of the people who are helping to provide a service for other folks. And in those places, there's, a lot of chatter. I said it on one of the podcasts, actually. It was like people that come in are rude to my employees, trash my fitting rooms, are just nasty to people. Like everyone in town talks about them. That's what they don't realize. Like everybody in town talks about them. And it's not like you create a reputation for yourself. And I would think that some of the people that maybe are giving a harder time to staff really like that you sometimes,
Yeah. And I don't
think you really touch on that, but it's just like, I think sometimes the little bit of like, oh, it's a little good fuck you every now and then.
It's a nice little, I think it's also just funny because somebody's saying it, right? Like there's a great TikTok. This girl is a cart girl at some club. I have no idea where. And she has great content of just being a beverage cart girl.
Right. Oh, I'm sure.
I think that there could be a whole television series, podcast series on service industry 101 and the subculture of service industry.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so incredibly successful outside. This account is just like a little, I feel like, fun thing.
Yeah.
I think that's also a misconception about you. You have such a full life outside of this. It's just like really you're just for fun.
It's my tip of the iceberg.
And yes. I guess for anyone who, I think one thing we like to do here is just talk about our experiences for anyone who, and I think you're speaking to a lot of women when you're saying what you're saying about intent, authenticity, boundaries, and what you know to be real and true and good and following your gut, all of these things. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with who range from 16 to 60 and up in terms of like just living into your authentic self? What advice would you give people, I guess is what I'm getting at.
My advice that I would give you is no one can love you as much as you can love yourself.
Yeah.
So you cannot have a loving friendship. You cannot have a loving relationship. You cannot have a loving relationship with your child, with people you work with anyone, if you don't love yourself. And I think that if you are struggling with that, focus on that first before you focus on any other relationship. And a lot of times, the things that people do and the way you interpret how they do it is because they are sitting in the stands of your arena. Like, I have no problem having difficult conversations with people and recognizing that we are at a difference of odds, but you need to be in that arena with me and we need to be face to face. If you are screaming from the stands down to me, you might as well be the wind. And I think that that comes from loving yourself and being able to say, no, I love myself well enough to go, let's have this and let's have the arena conversation. But if you're in the stands, I got no time for you.
Boop, boop, boop. I love it. That's a great place to end.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
I love
so
you.
Fun to interview Mike. I love it. Thank you for coming on.
Yes.
Go follow.
Yeah.
At Carpools and Country Clubs on Instagram.
Yes.
What else? What else do we want to plug?
I don't know. I have nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah. Just go follow her. Enjoy her content.
You'll see all my clothes are from Cheeky Pete.
She's a blast. She's a blast. She's a blast and a half. Sam, thank you so much for coming
so
on the
much for having
podcast.
me.
And we're going to have you back.
All right. Let's go.
Just the first of many.
Let's go.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you enjoyed our conversation and can't wait to share another episode with you next Thursday.
Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To keep up with the latest, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Podcast She Did What. We'll be sharing updates, behind the scenes, and announcements you won't want to miss.
And if there's anything you'd like to share with us, whether it be a personal story or feedback on our episodes, you can leave us a voicemail at 762-499-2201 or head over to our website, shedidwhatpodcast.com. Also, feel free to leave us a review down below. We'd love to know what you think.
She Did What is hosted by us, Brandy Chandler and Katie Jacobs, and produced by Studio D Podcast Production.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next Thursday. And remember, it isn't always easy, but it sure as hell can be entertaining.